Hi guys, I just wanted to have a bit of a chat today around how to stop comparing yourself to other people. I believe that comparing yourself to other people is probably the most powerful way to trigger the self-doubt button and to impact on your self-confidence. I also believe it's been massively intensified in the last decade or so, ever since the explosion of social media. So you might look on the likes of Facebook or Instagram and everybody seems so happy and successful and adventurous. And so now not only are we comparing ourselves to other people, we're comparing ourselves to a branded version of other people. So that's obviously going to make us feel even worse. So do you hear yourself saying anything similar to this? They've got so much more knowledge than me, I'm never going to be as good as them. They've got 10 years more experience than me, why would anybody take me seriously? Or maybe you don't say many of these things, but you just feel bad about yourself when you look on Facebook or Instagram and you see somebody that looks so skinny and so beautiful and they've got a new flashy car and they look so blissfully happy in the relationship. So we're basically living in a society where we're just constantly self-comparing. And if this is something that brings you down, here are 3 tips to hopefully get a handle on it. So tip number 1, remember that you're not alone. When you're comparing yourself to somebody else because they've got so much experience, the chances are they're comparing yourself to you. Maybe you've got brilliant stakeholder management skills, or maybe you're really organised. In the same way that their strengths are triggering your insecurities, the chances are your strengths are triggering their insecurities. And just knowing that you're not alone might bring some peace to the whole topic. Okay, tip number 2. Be decisive over your comparisons. Be realistic of the things that you can control and the things that you can't control. You can't control the fact that somebody has 10 years more experience than you, and you can't control the fact that somebody has a PhD or a first class honours. But you can control things like comparing yourself to the person who has an endless amount of patience, regardless of how many questions you've asked them repeatedly, and when they're really busy in particular. You can control yourself to the manager who manages to give you negative feedback, but actually makes you feel really good at the end of it. Or maybe you need to compare yourself to the person who volunteers a couple of times a week with the homeless. So by using the things that you can control, you can then use these in a way to make yourself become a better person and not bring yourself down. Okay, and tip number 3, check in with your motivations of when you're self-comparing. And the way to do this is understanding how you feel after you've self-compared. So there's 3 types of self-comparison. There's self-sabotage, self-inflation, and self-assessment. Self-sabotage is when you're latching onto other people's strengths and using it in a way to bring yourself down, and it's triggering the I'm not good enough story, which obviously isn't very helpful. Self-inflation is when you're comparing yourself to other people and making yourself feel much better for it. So you're belittling other people, and at other people's expense, you're making yourself feel better. That's also coming from a really toxic place. The one to aim for is self-assessment. This is when you can accurately look at other people's strengths and use that as inspiration, and look at your own strengths and then feel confident and feel good about yourself. If you do insist on comparing yourself to other people, self-assessment is the one to aim for. So I hope that was helpful. If it was, please give me a like, so it gives me a good idea of what content is most useful. If you think it can help other people, then feel free to share this. As always, if any of these things have resonated with you, then send me a direct message and we can jump on a call together and have a deep dive. And again, as always, I'm love to hear from you in terms of the things that have come up for you, what type of environments, and maybe you compare yourself to others more so than other environments. Yeah, and anything you want to share really. But other than that, it's Friday and it's almost the weekend, so have a fantastic weekend and I'll speak to you soon. Cheers.